Welcome to the Point of Focus podcast. Jer's back to talk everything into reality.
We'll be back every week all season long
with your host, Jeremy Piccott.
Focusing only on things that we want to get bigger in our lives.
Made by coaches and collaborators coming together for the purpose of co-creating.
Enjoy or join the in-depth discussion, information, and how-tos.
Stay tuned for another episode of the Point of Focus podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Point of Focus podcast. In today's episode, we're extremely pleased to have motivational speaker and sales guru, ladies and gentlemen, John Sansone. He's here to share stories, education, and inspiration and emotional help to build your psychology physique. Please welcome John Sansone.
Excellent. Jeremy, thank you so much for having me on. I'm just down here in sunny Dallas, Texas, and it's just wonderful to be here with your listeners. And yeah, I hope to give them some very good mental tools that they can use to be successful, not only in sales, but to be successful in life.
Awesome. And can you start with, like, the name of your company really caught my attention. Could you give me a little bit into that?
Yeah, so my company is called Sales Warrior Inspire. And really the reason why I call it Sales Warrior Inspire is because it takes inspiration to be a salesperson. And I've been a sales warrior for 32 years. I actually did $2 million worth of business last week. So it's not like unusual for me to be successful in sales. But with that said, I got to get up every single day, and I get on the phones, I get in appointments, I get in meetings, I have to overcome objections, I have to answer complicated questions. You know, the list goes on. And I think the hardest thing about longevity in sales, and I see it with younger counterparts that I work with, people that are much younger than me, they have less inspiration than me, and they don't seem happy, and that's sad to me, because when you're in a profession where you can make a good living and really be able to provide for your family and be able to do bucket list items that some people just dream about, it's sad that you can't be happy, because if you can be successful without happiness, you're not successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a dollar amount. I mean, I can remember when I was making half the money I'm making today, and I was just as happy as I am today. It's strange. Like, the difference isn't how much I make makes me happier. The difference is how much I'm able to create makes me be able to do more for the world at large. Like, I'm able to give money to charity. I'm able to, most recently I took my whole family to a resort and I paid for everybody. And things like that jazz me, that flexibility, being able to do things and not have money be the obstacle or the reason to say yes or no, which many of us sit in a world where we make all our decisions based upon the dollar amount. And that's what being wildly successful in sales can lead to. You ultimately get to a point where you're making a decision because you want to wow your family, and you really want to spend like quality time with your family. And so you start making decisions based upon, how can I spend more time and really enjoy my family, because it's a short life we live.
100%. Absolutely. So tell me, what's a psychology physique?
It's a myriad of things that you tell yourself. First and foremost, you got to be your own best friend. It kind of helps to know what a psychology physique is, to know what a psychology physique is not. A psychology physique is not giving yourself negative names. Like a lot of people give themselves things that don't empower them. They say like, oh, well, I'm a quiet person. Well, I'm an introvert. Well, I'm a this. Well, I'm a that. And what you do, and when you truly, truly understand the power of the spoken and the written word, the last thing you would do is say something negative about yourself, because you will manifest how you speak and how you write and how you talk to others about yourself. And you can write your own story, and you can create your own personal self for the world. You don't have to accept the cards that you're dealt. You can change the cards that you're dealt by the way you speak about yourself, the way you think about yourself, and the way you write about yourself.
Absolutely. So was it ever a time in your life where you were writing on a piece of paper, I am good at sales, I am happy, I am successful?
There was a time in my life where I was working as a professional purchaser and a junior account executive for an ad agency. And what I found was I wasn't making the kind of money I wanted to make. And the way I figured that out is a lot of my friends that were engineers were making more money than me. And I had an interview with an advertising company while I was working at this other one. And the guy was just so helpful to me because he could see in me what I couldn't see in myself at the time, Jeremy. I was in my early 20s. And he said to me, he said, John, he goes, you seem like a really smart guy. And you're in this business. And I got to admit, John, the money starts out low. And the money gets a little better, but it never is great. It takes a really long time to make great money doing what I do. Have you ever considered anything else? And this was my dream job, Jeremy, that I wanted. And I went home and I started thinking about my career differently. In fact, I was in my early 20s. I was unemployed. I opened up the one ads in the Dallas Morning News. And what I noticed when you looked at the one ads in the newspaper, I know people don't do this today, they use Monster. But back then you opened up the one ads. And then I'm a probability person, and I was looking at the one ads. And I was praying about it too. I'm a spiritual person, Jeremy. And sales just got so big in my eyes. Like there were a lot of positions, but the positions that paid a lot of money, sales. And it just got in my mind, sales. And so I took out a piece of paper and I wrote down like what would be the perfect job for me. And so I said, okay, I want to sell. So it's a sales position. I had been with small organizations. I'm like, I want to work for a Fortune 500 company where there's upward mobility and less chance of getting laid off. So I was like, sales, Fortune 500, big opportunity, advancement opportunity, somebody that would value my education. The list went on of like what I got real specific. And you know what I ended up getting?
What?
A sales job for a Fortune 500 company with upward mobility.
Wow. And how long was the time gap from when you wanted it to when you landed it?
I think 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
maybe 3 months. It was years ago, but I was selling photography and I was selling magazines. So I had two jobs. Even though I was unemployed, I was employed.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was selling magazines over the phone, and I was selling photography to women, and I was making okay money. I mean, I was making my bills and everything, but both of those jobs gave me plenty of time to interview for other jobs. And I did. I got with a professional recruiter and I made it a full-time job to find a job. And I told the recruiter, I want a Fortune 500 company sales position. I interviewed for tons of them, General Foods, lots of big companies that I interviewed with. But you know where I got my job?
Where?
I was calling a guy to sell him a magazine on a Saturday. And he kept telling me, no, John, I can't buy that magazine. I can't buy that magazine. I can't buy that magazine. And so I felt like the reason he hadn't bought a magazine is because I hadn't presented the magazine that he wanted. And so I was like, what about Field and Stream? What about Sports Illustrated? What about Reader's Digest? What about TV Guide? and I impressed him, and he's like, we get done, and he's like, John, I cannot buy a magazine from you this morning, but I'm going to give you my office number, and I want to have you in my office because I'd like to hire you. I work for a Fortune 500 company, and I'm looking to hire new salespeople right now.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I'll tell you, it all came from having a written list of goals. I'm having a meeting with a young salesperson today, and he booked an appointment with me. And what I'm going to teach him to do is a written list of goals. And you don't just write a written list of like your job goals, your relationship goals, your friend goals, your extracurricular activity goals. All these goals make you a well-rounded person. And that's one thing I want your listeners to know. How do you have a good psychological physique? You speak well about yourself.
Okay.
And you're not just your job. You got to have other interests besides your job. You have to become an interesting person. Interesting people can sell a ton of stuff because they can relate to a ton of people.
Okay. All right. So now how would somebody become more interesting? What kind of things could they do?
Well, I can tell you what I did. I read over 100 biographies. And I read 4 of them in November and December, and I continue to do it. Okay,
you like biographies?
Yeah, I'd read every motivational book that I thought was worth my time, because I only like, with my music, I'm kind of a music snob. I'm also a motivational snob. Like, I won't read a motivational book unless it's like a world famous motivational person.
That is interesting.
And the reason being is because I want who I spend my time with to have clout. That's like when I read a biography, it's about a world famous person that's overcome major obstacles. And that's what I would share with your folks too. Like, it's not by accident that these people have become world famous people. Most people would be led to believe that people that are world famous people, they were just dealt a better deck of cards. I'm going to tell you that they played their hand better.
I like that. I like that very much.
So it lets people know that, like, you're not stuck. You're not stuck at what you're doing. The only thing keeping you from point A to point B is reinventing yourself. And the best way to reinvent yourself is to build a big mental physique. And there are tools out there to build a good mental physique. Most people don't know how to speak well to themselves. And the reason they don't is they're taught how to speak to themselves from their parents or their family, who might not speak well of them to them. And you got to be your own best friend. Like I did a presentation this past week, and I didn't get the sale. I might get the sale here in the next 2 weeks or whatever. But I walked away from it saying, man, you did a great job, John. Like, I was really impressed, like how laid back you were when you were presenting. You answered all the questions properly. If I was that guy, I would have bought from you. I don't think it's about you. I think it's about them. And now's not the time to pressure them. Now's the time to let everything you shared with them resonate with them. And if it's a good fit for them, they're going to take action. If it's not, so what? You really don't need the money anyway. It's really more for them than you anyway. So go on down the road and find somebody else. And maybe 2 months from now, send them an email and see if they want to talk again. Like, that's my attitude. And that's why I sell so much, because I don't put pressure on people. I don't put pressure on clients. I don't need to. People sense that. And it's all about the mental physique. Like, there's so many good things people can learn from me about mental physique. For one, in life, people want to believe that life is easy. I'm going to tell you, life is hard. And the more you believe life is hard, the easier it is. Like, if you go about life thinking life is easy, you're going to be ill prepared to make life easy for you. I most recently went to a charity event for veterans, and I met an MMA fighter, and he and I had a really long conversation, and we discussed a lot. And being an MMA fighter, It's all about mental attitude, and it's about training. And so as an MMA fighter, does he believe MMA fighting is easy? No, he believes it's hard. But if he trains and goes into the ring with a strong mental attitude, it's going to be easy for him. It's going to be easier for him. And sales is the same way, and life is the same way. The more you prepare and the more you build up yourself, the easier it is for you. And then when people see you, they're like, man, I can't believe how much energy that guy has. I can't believe like how well spoken that individual is. He is so interesting to speak with. Well, that's because you spent like years becoming that individual that you just met.
Yeah.
Again, it's not by accident people are world famous or successful. I can give you so many examples of situations where people think, oh, they're so talented, that's why they're world famous. And I can tell you that no, there was methodology in place that got them to be world famous. Frank Sinatra is a good example. The Beatles are a good example. Elvis is a good example. These people with innate talent had a plan that was put in place, and that plan was followed. And then those natural talents were able to be shared with the world. Had those plans not been followed, those individuals would have just been ordinary people. Elvis was actually a truck driver. Elvis would still be a truck driver if he hadn't met somebody like Colonel Parker.
Wow.
A lot of talented people out there, Jeremy, without a plan.
Oh, so many.
You know, and a lot of talented people out there with, well, one, they don't understand their own self-worth. They don't know how to speak to themselves. They feel that picking up that book and reading it that could enrich them, their lives, their family, and increase their income. It takes too much time to read that. I don't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
I have this problem, that problem, that problem, that problem, that problem. They create all these reasons why they can't, and therefore they can't have. If you can't do, you can't have. But if you can do, I can tell you it's exponential. Like we have a horse, we go boating, we go on vacations. You know, we have a hot tub. And I'm throwing these things out not to brag, but to inspire people. Everything I just mentioned was on a list, and we manifested it by putting a process in place to manifest it. We didn't just sit around and wish it to happen. We put it on paper and we made it happen. And that's so key. I mean, I hope this inspires your people. I mean, there's so many good things that you can learn to say to yourself that'll pick yourself up when you get knocked down and get you to move forward instead of moving backwards. And one of the best things is to realize that life isn't easy. Life is hard. And then when you realize that, you're like, but I can do things to make life easier for me. I can get organized. I can make plans. I call it a written warrior vision list. I can make a written warrior vision list that could get me from point A to point B, and I can meet amazing people that can help me there.
Yeah. Awesome. That's the whole point of me doing this entire podcast, to be honest.
Oh, really? Tell
Absolutely.
me, what is it to help people get from point A to point B?
No, to help people focus on the right side of the coin. So exactly what you're saying, like your inner dialogue is positive. It's like, yeah, man, we can do this. You know what? That guy didn't need it. That's cool. You know what I mean? But so many people get stuck with a bad point of focus.
Yeah.
And then it just grows more bad stuff. So for me, it's shifting from a negative to a positive mindset is like the most important thing. And that's really the message I'm trying to get out there with this. And when you continue to focus on something and it's positive, it's going to grow. It's going to manifest. Like you said, write it down. It's not going to be long before that's a reality in your life.
That's beautiful. Let me give you a visual that'll help your people with this. Yeah. So you think of a little itty bitty stick man, take out a piece of paper, write a little bitty stick man and put that little bitty stick man at the bottom of the piece of paper. Just a tiny, tiny little stick man, little head, little neck, little bitty arms, little bitty torso, little bitty legs, tiny, tiny, tiny. Not able to do anything. In fact, the world at large could just step on that little stick man. He's not going to be successful. That little stick woman is not going to be successful. The world's so much bigger than they are. And next, right next to that little stick man, right, this great big stick man, a great big head, a great big neck, great big stick arms, big torso, big massive legs, big feet, standing on the ground strong. And next to that on the left side, put 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 is something that's amazing about you. Number 2 is something that's amazing about you. Number 3 is something that's amazing about you. And when you think of those 3 things, picture that big stick man. It is so, so important to visualize yourself being bigger than what you think you are. And the more you do that, the more you realize that you are that person. I mean, I have fought unbelievable situations that I should have lost, and I've won. And I've won because I'm the dog in the fight. I'm the sales warrior. And it's not just sales, it's just like conflict in my life that I've been able to win at, because I'm that big stick man and I know who I am. Like those 3 things for me, and it'll help your people. I call this, Jeremy, my big 3. Everybody has to have their big 3. Here are my big 3. I'm a sales guru. I back that up with 32 years of successful professional selling. I am an amazing husband, father, and family member. And I back that up with amazing relationships with my immediate family, my wife, my kids. I've been married almost 30 years, same woman. And I have great relationships with everybody in my family for the most part. And then lastly, I'm a rock and roll historian. I can tell you specific stories about major rock bands that have influenced the world to an nth degree. And the reason is because I've made it a practice to study. And I've probably read in that space, I don't know, 30, 40 books, watched multiple documentaries. And the reason I've done that is because music is like the biggest struggle in the world. Like bands that you see that are world famous today struggled to become world famous. And the difference between the guy that plugs in a Les Paul and 3 people walk in and drink a long neck and there's nobody else in the bar, and the guys that pack out stadiums is hard work and a good business plan. It's not talent. I have found some amazing guitar players and nobody's in the bar. I'm like, God, this guy is a guitar savant. I can't believe how good he is. And there's nobody in the bar watching him. And why is that?
Mm-hmm.
Because they haven't had a plan. They didn't write a vision list. They didn't step out of their comfort. They didn't associate with people that could have gotten them further in life. And so instead of being the big stick man on the piece of paper, they're the tiny stick man. It's not that they don't have talent. They have a ton of talent. You can recognize how good they are. But the difference is the plan and the vision and the association, which brings up a good point. How can people get better? They have to associate with positive people.
Oh, yeah.
And you start with reading about them, but then you grow your own personal friend list to successful people. If you associate with successful people, much better chance of being successful yourself.
Absolutely. Totally believe in that.
I know I get passionate about this stuff, but I'm a passionate guy, man.
That's amazing. So do you have like a program or something like that that you take people through to get better at sales and build their
I make it so, no, I'm glad you bring that up. I make it so easy to like learn my stuff. I couldn't have made it any easier for people. So yes, I do. I have a course called Sales Warrior Bootcamp Module 1, and it's 3 days of boot camp with me. It's audio, video, instruction, worksheets, and then it's ongoing. So if somebody buys my course, which is literally 3 days of education. And it's broken into 1 hour power blocks. So a lot of people are like, well, I can't do 3 days. I get it. I couldn't do 3 days either, but I can set aside 30 minutes to get inspired and to learn more about sales craft and people craft. A lot of being successful in sales is understanding people and psychology, and most people aren't taught that. And then what I do is I parlay my boot camp with my book. So I give people my book for free. And so if you buy my course, you get my book that's on Amazon for $10 for free. Most of these courses out there, Jeremy, are like $1,000. I sell mine for like $199. It's such a, I mean, it's so cheap. Like, I've spent so much money in my lifetime going to seminars and books and buying CDs and things like that. $200 for 3 days. And like, there's not course 2 and course 3 and course 4. I feel like if you really do my boot camp, you can go back to my boot camp over and over and over, because it's foundational. It's inspirational and it's foundational. And I continue to add juice. So every month, people that buy my course get a free module from me sent to them by email. So it's ongoing. You buy once, and I continue to send you inspiration every month. But how they get it, you just go out to my website, saleswarriorinspire.com. When I first launched, it was $400. I decided to make it $199 just to make it, more affordable to more people. And that's, that's it. If somebody's not ready to do the 3-day boot camp, I made a mini course for $99. But I really suggest people do the big one and go for it in life, because you shouldn't let things hold you back. Like, it's so important to dive in and make it happen. Like, you're in martial arts. You gotta, like, go after your opponent.
Absolutely.
You're not going to win points for sitting there, with both arms down to your side, with perfect posture.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to win points from being able to touch your opponent and score points. I say this with almost no knowledge of martial arts at all, other than watching the Cobra Kai on Netflix.
Yeah, well, I never did it in a ring, but I was a compliance enforcement officer, so I was always in the public using it, in front of a camera. So
I got
you have to be extra confident.
Yeah, and you've worked security too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, we appreciate it, because we can't be safe if there's not good security.
Well, you got to have some alphas out there controlling everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. But again, my website's just saleswarriorinspire.com, and people are welcome to go out and connect with me. All of my social media is out there. And I don't know if I mentioned this, I have an international comedy podcast. We have over 13 hours of comedy. And the reason is that I believe to be successful in business, you have to know how to laugh. It's one of the best health, wealth, and creation of destiny that you can absolutely have, is having a good sense of humor. And so I know people can struggle with laughing at life. And so I make that as easy as possible. I just have a free international comedy podcast where I personally go out and find interesting people to interview. And it's all about making people laugh. We're not trying to change the world. It's called Schools Out 80s.
Schools Out 80s.
Yep, Schools Out 80s. We talk about the 80s, but we don't have to. And it's easy to find my YouTube channel, and it's easy to find my my Spotify. It's just John Sales Warrior are my channels. Awesome. So easy to go out and find, like, what I'm putting out into the world, and it's absolutely free. I'm not charging for any of those current media that's out there, and I'm going to continue to do it. I just met a woman. Well, actually, I'll tell you who my next guest is. My next guest is a movie director out in Long Island, New York.
Cool. Can you share the name or no?
Oh yeah, absolutely. His name's Sal Ranella. He's the writer and director of a film called Goodfellas. And I'm sorry, not Goodfellas, golly. No, Good Friday is the name of his film.
Good Friday.
And it's going to be on Netflix very soon. And his other film that he's working on right now is the story of a mobster, I believe in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, who the FBI had. I mean, it's based on a true story. It's real. You know, there's not a lot of really good mob stories and movies out there anymore. This is based on a real guy, and I think he was part of the Genovese family in New York, and his code name, because they all have like nicknames, his name was Sharky.
Okay.
So that's kind of wild. So those are the two big film projects that Sal's working on right now. He's a personal friend of mine.
That's awesome.
So yeah, man. No, Jeremy, man, thanks for having me on, dude. I wholeheartedly have enjoyed myself.
I thank you so much, and it's so valuable. The inner dialogue, building yourself up in your head is, you have to do it. You have to, because you're right. Life is hard, and there's going to be obstacle after obstacle, and you just got to overcome them as fast as possible.
And you know what? Even if you're not in sales, start calling yourself a warrior. You know, I'm a mom warrior. I'm a dad warrior. I'm an accountant warrior. I don't care what a person does for a living. Become a warrior. It's such a better way to view yourself. And two, it gives you the best mindset to overcome obstacle, to be a warrior, to get up, to get, shot down, get back up and keep going.
Absolutely.
That's what a warrior does. He puts a tourniquet on and he keeps going. He might lose a leg, but he keeps on down the battlefield.
'Tis but a flesh wound.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's a flesh wound. Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. Well, I have a couple mottos that I want to leave with your folks. These are things that are near and dear to my heart. And so one of my main mottos is life is short. And I know that might sound morbid, but I'm in my mid-50s now, Jeremy. And the more you embrace that life is short, the more enriched your life will be, because you won't take the little things for granted. The cup of coffee, the hug from your wife, the kiss from your kids, the embrace of your other family members. Life is short, and there's little pockets of joy out there that you have to go after, and go after them every day. So that's the first part of my motto for living. And my other part, and this will be missed on a lot of people, and it's unfortunate, but life is for living. I don't care what the obstacles are in your life. I don't care what physical conditions that you have. Life is for living. So every single minute, every single hour, every single day, month, and year of your life is the most important time you're ever going to have, and you're never going to get it back. Don't compare yourself to other people. Stay motivated to do great things and to have vision to do great things. But at the end of the day, be in the moment and live your life.
Absolutely. The only time we have is right now. I believe that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Agreed.
So live it. Awesome. Well, I always ask people this question. If you were to plant a seed of thought in my mind with the intent of me focusing on it and it growing into something beautiful, what would that seed be?
Sure. Well, I mean, you seem like you have a really good sense of yourself. I'm going to say, don't let ego get in the way of success.
Okay, good one.
And the reason I say that is because you might notice that, like, I have a good sense of self. Some people call it ego. And I have to admit, I do have a pretty strong ego. And I have to, on a daily basis, almost like gut check myself, like in hockey. Like I just have to like startle myself a little bit and say, yeah, John, don't get too full of yourself, and start caring about the other people. And it's more than money. And, just a little bit of a check to the side, like in hockey. And it's a little bit of a, yeah, don't let your ego get in the way of success and of making money. I'm not saying don't do anything that's unethical. I'm sorry, definitely don't do anything that's unethical. What I'm saying is, don't let things hold you back, or don't move forward because of your ego, and don't do things that would hurt other people because of your ego. Like, it's so easy for us to strike out against people, particularly me, because I'm in sales, so I am constantly facing rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy for me to like somehow strike out against people that are rejecting me. And it amazes people that reject me, like how I treat it. But I always say, you know what? No worries. Like, I don't sit there and like spend 30 minutes trying to arm wrestle you and head wrestle you into going my direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm looking for the perfect customer, the perfect client, the perfect fit. And I'll do the very best I can. But at the end of the day, if they don't buy, it's not me, it's them. And maybe it's not for them. And again, I don't need the money, so it just enriches me if they do. But if they don't, you know, it's kind of like dating. Some girls will say yes, and some girls will say no to a dance. You got to date before you dance, man.
Absolutely. Love that.
So yeah, just don't let of success. And two, be open to really utilizing the ideas that have gone before you. I think that's one of the biggest things that separates me from my peers, and why I've been able to grow above my peers, because we work in the same environment, we have the same opportunity, and I've been able to exponentially beat all of them. Mm-hmm. And why? Because I spend my time enriching my life and enriching my mind. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And that's why they get burned out in life.
100%. It's got to be give and take.
Absolutely, dude.
Right?
Absolutely.
You got to enrich your own life for sure.
Wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly agree.
I love that. And the mentality of that's okay, it just completely diffuses anything, because especially in a sales situation, they're expecting you to come back with that objection, right? So when you're just like, okay, no problem. It's just the energy is like diffused.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you don't, like, there are situations where you overcome the objection or whatever. That's another thing. Like, when I hate the word objection, to me, it's a question. Like, I don't know anything about your company. Oh, Bob. Okay. Well, I understand. I mean, I tried to give you a good example of like what I do and how long we've been in business and everything, but let's take a step back and let me tell you more about my case. Like, it's a question. Like, most objections are questions. And two, like, you don't like come back like a punch. Instead, you're like, that's a good question. I can see why you might have that question. Let me take some time and explain to you what other people have found out about my company. Yeah. And, you know, you take a step back, and they're not used to this. This is not what they're going to find out in the world at large, because it's not taught. Like, you're taught overcome objections. Mm-hmm. No, answer questions. People have questions. They have a right to have questions. I'm going to say people that are asking questions are buyers. Buyers ask questions. Non-buyers just tell you no.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a defensive. So, like, the longer you're in it, the more you understand people that are completely not a good fit and people that are a good fit. And that comes with age and experience. Like, at the point that I'm at, like, I can tell. Like, sometimes it's almost like I feel like I've done it for so long I can read minds. I can't, but I've been in so many different situations, and I take detailed note. And, you know, that's something else I would mention to salespeople, that, and I see this every day, Jeremy, and it infuriates me, but research your customer, research your client, and take notes on what's important to them. Most people don't. No. And then prove to them that that you took the notes. Like, let them know, Bob, you said this was important to you. This was important to you. This was important. Spend more time talking about what's important to them than what your product does, and you'll win over more people.
Absolutely.
And less objections and questions. The more you spend time, I call threading the needle, the more you spend time really understanding what they want, and then they'll refer people to you because they're like, God, this guy gets me. Like, he really took the time to find out what was important to me. It's almost like dating. Like, you spend time finding out like what that guy or girl really, wants in a partner, in a relationship or whatever. And then you show them that you bring that to the table and it's a good fit. Sales is very similar to dating.
Absolutely.
If it's a good fit, it's a good fit. If it's not, it's not.
And don't rush into the contract too soon.
Exactly. Don't sign up what you're not prepared to sign up for.
Right.
Oh man, we've had so many good ideas come out of this, man. That's why, like, what we're doing today will show up on my boot camp, because dual energies involved in an educational intellectual exchange of ideas is so much more powerful than me saying, hey, these are the best ideas on how to be a better salesperson. You should do this, 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 and this, and this, and this. Check Absolutely. This box, this, but no. You should become a powerful person. Powerful people sell more stuff. Powerful, interesting, fun people sell more stuff than uninteresting, non-powerful, non-fun people. And you get invited to more parties too when you're fun.
Yeah. That's
and
awesome, John. I love it. I love it so much.
Absolutely, dude. You got it, man. My pleasure.
Thank you again for spending time with me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure, Jeremy. It's what I was born to do. Well. Cheers, brother.
Have a great day, John. John Sansone.